I want to put a case in front of you, sir. On August 8, Lalit Sharma of Hindu Raksha Dal announced that he would offer Ganga Jal at Darul Uloom Deoband.
The BJP and Sangh Parivar and the rest have learned to use religion to do politics, and they do it all the time. First, it was Taj Mahal, built on some Hindu monument, they say. So I think this is a very sad day. It's not the idea of India upon which the freedom struggle was led by the Indian National Congress. The three main pillars which became part of the Indian Constitution, the Pune Pact agreed between Mahatma Gandhi and Dr. Ambedkar in government services. And one theory is that the Hindu right, realizing that the Dalits and the other backward castes are so many in number, that if they get more and more power, the upper caste Hindus' privileges will be diminished. So what they have done politically is divert the whole attention to the Muslims. Actually, the threat to them is the Indian Constitution, which gives equal rights to the Dalit and to the other backward caste. And the other backward caste and the Dalits become about 65% of the Indian population. So if you look at the Indian Constitution, it clearly does not uphold any religious dogma. Actually, on the contrary, one argument the Hindu right has used is that whereas in 1959 the Hindu personal law was reformed by the government, they did not touch the Muslim personal law. Muslims were ruling a large part of India for 800 years. Had they used their full power to convert people, there should be no Hindu left.
Hello and welcome to JP Global. I am Ayaz Khan. Today, Indians are celebrating their Independence Day. But the question remains, on the basis on which India was actually founded, whether those bases are there, secular constitution that was adopted by leaders, is that still intact or it is being jolted by the present leaders? To discuss this, I am joined by a very famous and very known personality. Today, I am joined by Dr. Ishtiaq Ahmed, political scientist, political historian and writer of many books. He is Professor Emeritus of Political Science, Stockholm University. Sir, thank you very much for joining us.
My pleasure. Thank you so much for inviting me.
I want to put a case in front of you, sir. On August 8, Lalit Sharma of Hindu Raksha Dal announced that he would offer Ganga Jal at Darul Uloom Deoband. Also, there was a news that police came around and subsequently he was stopped there. But my question is, how do you see this? Was this primarily a religious act or an attempt to turn a historical claim into a political mobilization campaign? How do you see that?
Well, the BJP and Sangh Parivar and the rest have learned to use religion to do politics, and they do it all the time. This is the latest, I think, provocation, this time against Muslims. First, it was Taj Mahal, apparently built on some Hindu monument, they say, and now Darul Uloom Deoband. So these are provocations all the time. I think once you get into this mode of promoting hatred to do politics, you can't get out of it. And more you sort of do politics, the greater the use of these slogan mongering, threat, intimidation, whatever you want to call it, and direct attacks as well. So I think this is a very sad day. It's not the idea of India upon which the freedom struggle was led by the Indian National Congress. And if you look at the three main pillars which became part of the Indian Constitution, it's the Motilal Nehru report of 1928, which says there will be no state religion. Men and women will have equal rights based on universal franchise. The third was that Hindustani will be the national language of India with two official scripts, Devanagari and our Urdu, Nastaliq. Okay?
Yes.
And fourth, that India will be a federation with an effective center. This is one. Then in 1931 at Karachi, the fundamental rights were declared, that they will also be part of the Indian Constitution. And the third thing was the Pune Pact agreed between Mahatma Gandhi and Dr. Ambedkar, whereby the historically disadvantaged sections of Hindu society, let's say, the Dalits and the Adivasis. Adivasis are the indigenous aboriginal people, okay? The tribes. They will be ensured representation in the legislatures. They will be admitted to universities and educational institutions in proportion 22.5% of their population. And in government services, there will be a reservation for them. These three things became part of the Indian Constitution. And in addition to that, untouchability was declared a criminal offense. So that's the beginning of Indian independence, with the Constitution agreed and in 1949 promulgated in 1950. So if you look at the Indian constitution, it clearly does not uphold any religious dogma. Actually, on the contrary, one argument the Hindu right has used is that whereas in 1959 the Hindu personal law was reformed by the government, they did not touch the Muslim personal law, which allowed Muslims to apply Sharia when it came to divorce, inheritance, and things like that. So if you look at the original idea of India, it included everyone, even after the partition. Although the partition was a big setback to the whole idea of India, but the founders of India remained steadfast to their original idea of India. And so the constitution is one thing, and the politics of the Hindu right is a very different thing.
That's very interesting. You mentioned Dr. Ambedkar, who was also the writer of the constitution, but he was not agreeing with Mr. Gandhi while he was talking about his own people's rights. And in the end of the day, we saw that he adopted Buddhism as a religion. So did he foresaw that this thing is going to happen in the future, and the problems like this can be created if the very foundations of Hinduism and the caste system remains intact? Do you think that is the reason that this is being exploited by the current leadership?
Let me put like this. Just remember that Dr. Ambedkar was always opposed to the Indian National Congress, always describing it as a caste Hindu party and not a party of all Indians. Okay. Then in the 1946 election, he actually lost the election. But Joginder Nath Mandal, who became Pakistan's law minister, he vacated his seat in what is today Bangladesh. And so Ambedkar was elected again. Now, the founders of modern India, the Indian National Congress, they could just have ignored Dr. Ambedkar. He could sit in the assembly without being given any recognition or any office. So the background is that one of the ministers, Rajkumari Amrit Kaur of the Kapurthala family, actually she had become a Christian. She advised Gandhi ji that we should give this chairman position of the constitution drafting committee to Dr. Ambedkar. And Gandhi accepted it. But when he proposed this to Nehru apparently reacted and said, Bapu, this man has been opposing us all his life. How can we make him the chairman of the constitution drafting committee? And Gandhi famously said, Jawaharlal, are we making a constitution for the Congress party or for India? And so Ambedkar, rightly or wrongly, always hated Gandhi and considered him a hypocrite and all that. We know that very well. But at the end of the day, Ambedkar got this position because of Gandhi. So remember that. Now, he wanted to go beyond what was agreed in the constitution. But just remember, a constitution always reflects the social conditions, the political situation, the representation in the assembly. So although the Hindu right wanted from day one that India should be declared a Hindu Rashtra and Hinduism should be declared as the primary cultural identity of India, this was not accepted. And the constitution therefore does not privilege Hinduism anywhere. Actually, I've told you that the power of the government or the state was used to reform Hindu family law. Do you know that in traditional Hindu personal law, women were not given any property? The only property they were given was at the time of marriage as dowry, and that's all. All the rest of the property was inherited by male issues. But this law was changed. In contrast to that, Muslim personal law was allowed to remain, and it is still applicable with some changes. So Dr. Ambedkar did have a big grievance against the Congress party, but it's the Congress party which gave him this job to become the chairman. Later on, he wanted to do more things, and since the House had landlord classes represented, there were Hindu right-wingers, the compromise was the constitution which was agreed. So that's how you should understand Ambedkar. Definitely he got disillusioned. You see, let me also clarify. The Indian constitution gives one vote to one man, one woman, but which also means one vote for the Brahmin and one vote for the Dalit. Now, according to Hindu theology, Manusmriti, if you apply that, the Brahmin can get 10,000 votes and Dalit should not be even recognized as a full human being. But the Indian constitution gives everybody one vote. Men, women, Hindu, Muslim, Sikh, whatever. So that's a big political revolution or reform, one can say. But society society which is based for 3,000 years on the basis of caste, you can't wish it away. That change has to come about over a long period of time. And one theory is that the Hindu right, realizing that the Dalits and the other backward castes are so many in numbers that if they get more and more power, the upper caste Hindus' privileges will be diminished. So what they have done politically is divert the whole attention to the Muslims. You get the point?
Yeah,
So
see,
what they have politically is that actually the threat to them is the Indian constitution, which gives equal rights to the Dalit and to the other backward castes. And the other backward castes and the Dalits become about 65% of the Indian population. So that threat is the real one. Not the Muslims are no threat to the Hindu right. But in order to, divert attention from the main threat, they have taken up to target Muslims. So this is politics, if you want to call it. Okay.
My another question that is that I would like to ask you, that is very important as well. Hindutva narrative often portrays a pre-Muslim India as a golden age and the centuries of Muslim rule as dark age. How does professional historian scholarship challenge the simplified civilizational narrative?
Well, this is once again wild propaganda. The thing is, I've argued so many times in my own writings that Muslims were ruling a large part of India for 800 years. Had they used their full power to convert people, there should be no Hindu left. But when the British took over India from the Mughals and the rest, only 19% of the population had become Muslim. And during British rule, that increased to 25%. So many conversions took place after the British took over. So the Hindus' right has no historical facts to back it. Of course, you can argue that Aurangzeb and maybe Muhammad Tughlaq used extreme force to convert people, which is also correct. But most of the rulers were quite content that as long as the Hindu population is not revolting against us, they are paying the jizya and things are all right. We don't mind things going on as they are. So saying that the Muslim rule was dark ages and the Hindu period was a great one is of course ideological. It's not factual. Because what was the Hindu period? There was once a Hindu India, then it became a Buddhist India. And during the time of Ashoka and all, Buddhism became the main religion. Then there was a Hindu revival and all the Buddhists either disappeared or they were reconverted to Hinduism. So Hinduism oppressed the Buddhists as much as maybe one can say when India became Buddhist, they oppressed the Hindus. And then you come to the Muslim period. And I have also quoted that Muhammad bin Qasim, when he conquered Sindh, he had a problem. That there is a Quranic verse that if Jews and Christians and Sabians, if they accept defeat and they agree to pay jizya, leave them alone. They can follow their own religion and they can carry on with their business. Okay? So, in the case of Sindh now, the population was either Hindu or Buddhist and some Jains. So he wrote to the people in Damascus, which was the capital of the Umayyad Caliphate, asking the fuqaha to give a ruling on this. And the ruling they gave was a very enlightened one, that let the Hindus and the rest follow their religion as long as they pay jizya. Don't destroy their religious places. They can repair them and they can continue with their religion. And I think that has been the basis for the relationship, that as long as the non-Muslims were paying jizya, the rulers did not mind them continuing with their religion. And I think 2 or 3 times the jizya was even removed. Akbar did it, for example. Earlier on, I think during the Tughlaq period also it was removed. But most of the time, things were normal. And during the Mughal period, if you look at the revenue system, the main architect was Raja Todarmal. The revenue system which India and Pakistan inherited and the British continued more or less was done by a Hindu serving in the Mughal Empire. And Kashmiri Brahmins, and there is a caste of Hindus called Kais. Kais are also people who keep a record, clerks and so on. They were all serving in the Mughal Empire in the offices. And the Mughal army had Rajput generals leading all the campaigns, not all the campaigns, but many of the campaigns. So if you look at the record, there is no basis to claim that the Muslim rule was a dark period, that they took away Hinduism from the people.
Um,
And Hinduism had the worst type of social order, which is the caste system. The counter question is, how did you treat your own people, the Dalits and the Shudras? They were downgraded as human beings. So, is the Indian period an enlightened one? Not at all. The Muslim period also has its problems, and so does the British period. Every period has its positive points and its negative points. That's how responsible, educated scholars write on the Indian case. But if you are doing ideology, then you can come up with any sort of one-sided presentation. Don't we say that Pakistan came into being when Muhammad bin Qasim took over Sindh? Isn't that what is taught in our Pakistan studies? Whereas my argument then is, for 800 years when Muslims were ruling, why didn't they create Pakistan? So creating Pakistan, not creating Pakistan is a 20th century issue as a result of the British being the main rulers, and both Muslims and Hindus then vying with each other for British patronage. That's the background.
Okay, so a question is coming into my mind that yesterday I was discussing about the impacts of AI, and a case came in front of us that AI, some models of AI, were trying to erase old scripture or books in particular place. So when I see this in Indian case, the way they are trying to portray Hinduism and Hindutva as the ideology, and they are trying to erase the history of Muslim rulers. How do you see this? That if you erase the history, how would you be able to make the sense of the present? What they are actually trying to do?
Well, I think these are acts of desperation. This is not the acts of a confident ruling party.
Hmm.
It knows the facts are against what they are doing. Let me give an example.
Hmm.
In the 1937 election, the Hindu Mahasabha, which is the precursor to the BJP, by the way. Remember, the RSS was never a political party which contested elections. So, during the colonial period, it was Hindu Mahasabha. In the 1937 elections, whereas the Congress won 930 seats or whatever out of 1500 general seats, the Hindu Mahasabha won only 3 seats. Then in the 1946, which is the last election, once again, the main winner overwhelmingly was the Congress for the general vote. The Congress, by the way, never contested for the Hindu vote. They contested for anyone who could vote for them. Okay? And the Hindu Mahasabha once again won only 3 seats. So before India became independent, Hindu right wing was a marginal tendency. The main thing is, why did it become now mainstream? Then we have to look at the situation as fairly as possible. I think Pakistan has a role to play in it as well. The 1965 war we started, okay, and then you have the 1971 civil war in East Pakistan, where the Indians then intervened and Pakistan broke up. Then we have the Afghan jihad, from where people who done with that jihad were then sent to the Indian Kashmir. So all this has helped the Hindu right argue that Nehru and Gandhi were stupid people who believed that Hindus and Muslims can live together as brothers. Look, in 47, They broke up India and created Pakistan. And now they continue to attack India even when there are two states. I'm not justifying, I'm explaining the way the Hindu right has constructed this argument. And one thing more, you see, in 1985, aged Muslim woman Shah Bano was divorced by her husband, Mr. Khan. And at that time, a law had been introduced that if you divorce your wife at an age when she can't remarry and she has no economic resources to fall back on, then you are duty bound to provide her an allowance to continue with her life. So she applied for this allowance from her husband, I think in the UP High Court, if I remember, which gave her 75 rupees as monthly allowance. But Mr. Khan went to the ulama and to the right-winger Muslims. There are right-wing Muslims also who said that this is against the Sharia. In the Sharia, you can divorce a woman and only until the period of iddat, which is 3 or 4 months, during which you have to find out if that woman is pregnant or not. If she is not pregnant, then no more duty to her is due from the former husband. However, if she is pregnant, then you have to support that child and so on. So this woman was, I think, in her 60s and not marriageable anymore, could not be pregnant and so on. So they created this great fuss. And the Supreme Court, by the way, then gave a ruling that the spirit of Islam is based on justice. And so justice demands that this woman should be given the allowance. But it became such an explosive issue that Rajiv Gandhi was advised by some people to pass a law through the Indian Parliament making an exemption for Muslims so that this law could not apply to Muslim women. And that gave a further argument to the Hindu right that, look, they changed the law in 1955. And now when Shah Bano applied for this allowance, the Indian government has agreed to the conservative Muslim position. So all this has helped the Hindu right find an argument which is anti-Pakistan and anti-Muslim.
We're left with very few minutes. I just want to ask you very last question. That is that the fabric of the society, the secular fabric that was built in many years in India, and so many people contributed. Even the artists contributed it, the writers contributed it, and they built a society where everyone could flourish and move on. But there is a party and there is a leader who wants to consolidate his power and want to remain in power. He is ready to rewrite the history. He is ready to tear the fabric of the society. If these type of things are happening, since you're a historian, how a single person, how a one man becomes so powerful that he can blind a large number of people. We have been seeing in history that this how does this leadership come into the power, and they change even the thinking of the people, and they even take them back into the, like they say, the ghar wapsi. They talk about that the Hindutva must be revived, and so on and so on. So do you think that it is their capacity, or the that they can change, or the people are so unable to understand what is going on with them?
Well, I think it's a mix of many things. Okay. But one thing, remember, democracy is a preferable system, but it's not some perfect system. How do we explain that the United States of America, which is considered to be the older democracy, has a stupid, idiotic man like Trump doing all these things to a democracy? And India is just a new sort of society in which the caste system does not accept equality of human beings. It always has a hierarchy, socially speaking. To create a democracy where everybody votes, and remember, Madam Mayawati, a Dalit, was elected 4 times as the chief minister of UP, and UP's population is the same as that of Pakistan. So the struggle for democracy is not lost in India. This cockroach movement has actually put the BJP and this lot on the back foot. So I would not say that the case in India is all lost, but this is an era of majoritarianism, strong men capturing the fancy of the people. I have heard Prime Minister, Vice President Vance say that the USA is a Christian state, whereas the Constitution says that religion and state are two separate things. So this is, I think, in history there is a step forward, then is a step backward. So we are just witness to what is happening, which maybe 30 years ago none of us expected. But this is not the end of time. Things can move in the other direction as well. So I hope in India the secular forces reassert themselves. Remember, in the last election, the BJP was hoping to get 400 seats. They didn't even get a majority. They had to find partners to establish a government. So who knows, in 2029, they may even be defeated. So I am not entirely pessimistic about India. This is how I will look at it.
So Ambedkar, the way he predicted and the way he was fighting with Gandhi at that time, he actually knew that. And we also saw the posters of Ambedkar in cockroach.
I'm sorry to say, Gandhi, Ambedkar did his grievance against caste Hindus, I understand. But I have told you that Ambedkar was given this job by Gandhi and the Congress. How do you explain that? He wanted to make more changes which were not possible, that I understand. And he then became a Buddhist, which I also understand. But I am saying that the struggle for democracy or the battle of democracy is not lost in India. It is continuing. That's what I'm saying. And Gandhi played a very important role. Were it not for Gandhiji, 35 million Muslims, the Hindu Mahasabha and RSS wanted to throw out of India into Pakistan. It's because of him that they stayed on. And they killed him because of that. The Hindu right killed him, not a Muslim or a Sikh. Okay.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ishtiaq. It was really an insightful discussion. Next time we will come up with any other show. So thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure. Thank you so much. Nice talking to you.